Hello and welcome to the Out of Bounds Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Harrison. Today I'm joined with a very special guest today. I have Ronnie Brewer on today. How you doing today, Ronnie?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, man. And it's been a minute since I, did a live with a former NBA player. So I guess I want to start. How did you get started with the game of basketball? Like, what piqued your interest when you first got started?
I'm the youngest of five kids, and my dad being a corporate NBA guy, played in college. My mom played basketball. Basketball was always around, and so just watching my older brothers and sisters play, and being attracted to the game. That's really when I first picked it up. We had basketballs at our house, and I just watched my brothers and sisters, my dad playing, and then I just kind of picked it up and kind of taught myself, and then asked my dad for help.
So, how old were you when you first started, like really, seeing that you can actually play? What did you and did you ever get to a point where you can actually compete with your dad and actually beat him?
I knew that I was decent when I was a kid growing up because my dad, always made me play against my older brothers and sisters. And then when I was playing with my old age group, it was like, oh man, this is not the same. I'm more physical, more aggressive. Um, my basketball IQ was a little different, but it wasn't until I was like in high school I hit my growth spurt. Ninth grade, I was like 5'8.5", and then the start of my sophomore year, I grew to 6'4", and by the basketball season, I grew to 6'7". So once I hit that growth spurt, you know, um, I think I was able to compete with my dad a little bit. He kind of got up in age, and I was a little bit more athletic and was dunking the basketball. So we ended up stop playing one on one right then and there.
So you played your college ball at Fayetteville. So how was the college experience,
Yeah.
and how did your career pan out with that? And then at what point did you know that the NBA was the actual thing that you could actually pursue?
Well, my time at the University of Arkansas was great. Like I said before, my dad went to the University of Arkansas for basketball. My mom did the same. My sister Alicia was an All-American hitting running track. So once I stepped on the hill, I wanted to work as hard as I possibly could to develop and get better each and every time I stepped on the court. I wanted to transition my body from being a high school kid to um, an impact player at the college level. And, you know, after year one, it was tough. We were rebuilding, but year two, year three, we got better as a team. We built confidence, and I started playing a lot better. After my sophomore year, um, it was brought to my attention that I could potentially go to the NBA, which was obviously a dream of mine. And then that summer, I just worked as hard as I possibly could to um, prepare myself and prepare our team to try to make the most of the next upcoming season. I had a great junior year, and knew it was time to make the decision, make the jump to go to the NBA.
So once you get to the NBA, you get drafted in the first round by the Utah Jazz. Now that franchise is littered with history, coming into that situation. So how did the pressure of playing for a franchise like the Jazz
Uh,
impact your play?
it was tough as a rookie, knowing that Coach Sloan was really tough on rookies. Rest in peace. And it was such a storied franchise with John Stockton, Carmelo, and Jeff Hornacek, a lot of greats, Pistol Pete, Adrian Griffith. So you know, I felt like it was going to be an easy transition from college to pros. I was the leading scorer in the SEC, and I thought that's what I was going to do, my rookie year. But you know, the game of basketball is a business. You have franchise players. You've got guys that have put the time in before you, that they earn the right to be able to be franchise players. So I just kind of had to wait my turn and my time and play my role. And I gradually worked hard um, to earn the trust of Coach Sloan to allow me to have the opportunity to be on the court and be a part of the rotation. My rookie year, I played uh, off and on. My second, third, and fourth year, and I started every game. So I felt like I put the work in, built the trust of the coaching staff as well as the players, as well as the fans, and it was a match made in heaven.
Now, you spent 4 years in Utah. Who was in your ear most of the time? Who was the player that was, really driving your motivation and things like that? Who took you up under the wing, as a rookie up until you got to the point where you had got traded?
Yeah. First off, it was Derek Fisher. He was another Arkansas native. We went to Euler. He had championship pedigree playing with the Lakers. Um, so he took me under his wing. Taught me how to be a true professional. Taught me some suits. Taught me how to dress, um, and what it was like to be an NBA player and how I was with myself. Darren Williams was also very big on my development. He's somebody I looked up to, even though we were so close in age. He was well beyond his years in knowledge and input that helped me in my career. Carlos Boozer was another guy. Andre Kirilenko, Mendo Kerr. I mean, the list can go on. I had some really phenomenal teammates that really molded myself, Paul Millsap, and D. Brown while we were there in Utah.
Now you did have some playoff experience in Utah as well. So like how was the playoff feel once you actually got to the postseason? The postseason is totally different than the regular season. How was the pressure? And how would you handle that? Throughout that experience.
Well, my rookie year, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. Ended up losing to the Spurs, who ended up winning the World Championship. So my mentality was, this is what it's going to be like every year, not knowing how much hard work and dedication and that's put in to having a winning record, to making it, winning your division, to qualifying for the playoffs, winning rounds in the playoffs, and then going to the conference finals. So, the experience was great. The expectations were high from the start, and we just built off that every year I was in Utah. The fans got behind us. The coach staff was great. And it was such a privilege because you go across the league, you don't see as many fans that come out and support. We had a sellout crowd every game that I played in Utah while I was there, and that's not very common throughout the league. And we were very appreciative of that. We had some tough battles with the Lakers. We had some tough battles with the Spurs. Um, Tough battles with the Nuggets. But it molded us as a team and molded us individually as players.
I want to talk about your relationship with the legend, Coach Jerry Sloan. Rest in peace. How was that relationship? He's a historic,
Yeah.
great coach. Coached some of the greatest players
Uh-huh.
in NBA history. So how was that relationship, and how did he impact your development?
I thought the relationship was great. It started off pretty rocky because, like I said, like everybody knows, he's very hard on rookies. He thinks rookies need to earn the right to play. That back when he was playing, rookies and freshmen in college had to sit out and wait their time. And so, he taught me the true meaning of being a professional. He taught me what it means to bring your work lunch pail every day in preparation, working before practice, during practice, and after practice, taking care of your body. Um, and I think he brought a restored refreshness of the level of the game. He was passionate about his players, passionate about winning, and passionate about doing it the right way. And I think that carried over in my basketball life and in my life off the court as well.
Absolutely. You know what? I remember, watching some of your games. You was a, pest on defense. Was that one of your strongest things, as far as defense? I think one year you actually led the one of the steal leaders. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic, if you talk to people who know me very well, they're like, man, to see Ronnie being a defensive stopper in the NBA is a big deal because his whole life he's been a big time scorer. Junior high, high school, college, and then having a talk with Coach Sloan, being like, if you want to get on the court your rookie year, if you want to be a starter and hold your position, you have to be a unicorn and do something that we don't have on this team. You look at the roster, you had Darren Williams, Derek Fisher, Andre Kirilenko, Mendo Kerr, Carlos Boozer, Matt Harpring, maybe the only defensive stopper out of that group was Andre Karolinko. So, I took the challenge of going out there and trying to slow down the opposing team's best player. I knew I could score. I knew I could do a lot of different things. I knew I could facilitate, make plays for others. I knew I could rebound. I knew I could guard more positions. So I was always was told is don't let your offense dictate your defense. Defense is all about effort and heart. And that's what Coach Sloan basically told me is like, man, if you want to play, you have to have effort and heart. And you have to do something different than what anybody else does in the team. So, became a defender, got to play a lot, start a lot. And, I think he kept me in the league for a long time.
Yeah, definitely, you was definitely a great defender from the games that I were able to catch. Um, I just admired your intensity on that end of the floor. Um, so I want to kind of talk about right now if are you currently watching any NBA games? Do you watch any of the games from any of the teams in particular?
I watch a lot of NBA basketball, a lot of college basketball. And I'm just a student and a fan of the game. I love where the game is going. There's so many highly skilled basketball players making impacts on their team. You see a lot of bigger players with more skill handling the basketball, making plays for their teammates, knocking down shots from the perimeter, and it's very exciting to watch. I think more skillful big men are more prevalent now than previous years before, and it's making the game fun to watch.
What do you think about the current Utah Jazz? Right now they're currently number one team in the West. Are you buying this team as legit contenders, or do you think they're missing something? They just dropped a game a couple days ago. They kind of exposed them a little bit. But what are you seeing about this team, and do you think they have what it takes to make a deep playoff push?
I do feel like they have what it takes to make a deep playoff push. I mean, they have a lot of versatility, a lot of great guards, a lot of people that play very unselfish. And you got a big fella inside that's going to hold down the paint. He's going to rebound and alter a lot of shots, block shots, um, and is making it very dangerous with a lot of those guys in the pick and roll series. I mean, the thing in the playoffs is yes, it's whoever's playing the best offensively, but it's also the team that can defend the best. And so far for Utah, they've been successful because they've been sharing the basketball, making the extra pass, and shooting a high clip from the outside. And
Right.
for them to be specials, they need to continue to have their defensive efficiency, and they can make a long run in the playoffs.
What do you make about Shaq's comments to Donovan Mitchell? Do you think that had any kind of impact on how he's playing right now?
I mean, I feel like Donovan Mitchell is going to be Donovan Mitchell. I don't think criticism is going to change his game. I don't think input from Shaq is going to change his game. He's the type of player that he hears it, he goes in one ear, out the other, and he's still going to do with his job and bring his lunch bill day in, day out. He's an energy spark for this team. He makes plays. He makes the teammates better. He's a human highlight reel, and he's more than just a dunker because he's knocking down mid range, he's knocking down threes. But I think that he's going to use that as encouragement. I think people around him is going to use it as encouragement, but I don't think it's going to affect how they play in any way. I don't think that's the reason why they're playing so well because of what Shaq said.
Right. How familiar are you with the head coach Quinn Snyder? Do you think if they don't make a good push in the playoffs, then it's kind of puts him in the hot seat? With this team, red hot right now, how it is
Mhm.
going into the postseason is high expectations, and they haven't really won a whole lot in the playoffs in the postseason. So would this put him in the hot seat, or do you think he's pretty secure in his role?
I just think that the state of NBA basketball, the state of any sport, is kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And it doesn't matter how many games he's won in the past or whatnot. It depends on what he does right now. If they continue this streak and they lose in the first round, then for sure he's on the hot seat. I think it's high expectations, especially when you see how much potential a team might have. The roster is very, very, very well put together, and they've showed their value. And it just we're going to have to do it for the rest of the season and do it in the playoffs. And if not, you never know about Snyder's security.
Right, right. So just going back to your career, you spent 4 years in Utah,
Uh,
and then you were traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. So how long did you actually stay in Memphis? Because I don't even remember any of your games in Memphis.
my first game I played in Memphis, I tore my hamstring, so I didn't really get to play in Memphis. I was injured.
Okay. So then we're just gonna talk about Chicago.
Yeah,
So tell me about
so right after that, it was an off season. I was a free agent, and I had to make the conscious decision to re-sign with Utah, do I sign with Memphis, or do I look for different suitors? And Chicago, my old teammates Carlos Boozer and Kyle Korver reached out to me. Uh, front office of the Bulls reached out to me. We just thought that it was the best situation to go there, and kind of the rest is history. We had a nice run in Chicago. Got to play alongside of DRose, Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, Lou Alding, and a lot of other great players. We're the first in the East 2 years in a row, but came up a little short to a more veteran Miami Heat team. And then the next year, DRose got hurt, and we dropped to the Philadelphia 76ers.
So how was DRose as a teammate? I mean, we obviously know what he represented as a basketball player, but talk about him as a teammate.
Great teammate, great teammate. Wouldn't change anything in the world. He was quiet, but he was very impactful on the court. He led by example. He was a leader behind closed doors. Not saying he wasn't a vocal leader on the court, because he was that for sure. But he's one of the best teammates I ever played with.
Now you end up having two stints with Chicago.
Yeah.
How did like I guess how did you feel about the Chicago culture and things like that? Obviously we watch, The Last Dance. Was that still, some of the things that we've seen on that? Is that, the same, when you got there, or did some of the, some things kind of change? Was it different?
The culture was crazy, because while I was up there, they were having a ton of reunions. 20-year anniversaries for all the championship teams. So Jordan was around, Pippen, Rodman, Cartwright, Steve Kerr, John Paxson obviously was in the front office, Ron Harper, Tony Kukoc. So it was great, and you got to see like what it meant to be a Bull, like a Bull lifer. And so we took pride in what it meant to be a Bull because of what they showed us. And so it made us have an extra chip on our shoulder, especially DRose being from the city of Chicago, how much it meant for him to have success and how much he wanted to win. I just think that made us want to play and prep so much harder to be successful in Chicago.
Were you ever fortunate enough to like have conversation with Michael Jordan? Just about the game and about being a Chicago Bulls basketball player.
I mean, I've talked to him multiple times. In college, I worked his flight school in Santa Barbara. Talked to him when he was in Chicago multiple times. And it's always just a pleasure to be able to like touch bases with him, speak briefly with him, speak briefly with Scottie Pippen. Being from Arkansas, one of my role models growing up. So it was always good, and it was great that they have those reunions to be able to part and be able to meet those guys, because a lot of those guys we looked up to as kids.
What is the most impactful thing that he throughout these conversations that he ever said to you that you kind of just stuck with you?
And play hard. Come with it every single night. Some nights you might score a lot of points, some nights you don't. But if you have an impact on the game, you did your job that night, and earn that paycheck. Have an impact on the game by any means necessary. Rebounding, loose balls, taking a charge, making the extra pass, cheering on the bench. Everybody is a part of something special if you want to win. And he said basically that's how their team is special. Everybody had a role, and they played that role to the best of their ability.
So throughout your career, the title kind of alluded to your career. So what do you think, looking back, what team did you play on that you think that you had legit opportunity to actually compete for a championship, or do you think they all were contenders for it?
I mean, when I was in Utah, obviously, I thought we were contenders. I mean, our rookie year, we made the Western Conference Finals. Second year, third year, we lost to the Lakers, who went on to win it. Both years in Utah, we were the number one seed. I thought we had a really good chance. And then when I got traded to Oklahoma City Thunder, I thought we had a chance to win it. So I played on some really successful teams. Every team I played on went to the playoffs. So, um, I can't really complain, even though the title eluded me. It was close enough to feel and know what it felt like to almost win it.
Yes, yeah. So you went to the Knicks. Did you get a chance to play with Carmelo?
Yep,
So you did play with Carmelo. So how was that?
it was great. I think people don't give Melo as much credit as he deserves. I think we had so many phenomenal guys on the team, there like Jason Kidd and Rasheed Wallace and Kurt Thomas and Marcus Camby, Amari Stoudemire, James Flight White, Chris Copeland, Raymond Felton, Pablo Prigioni, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, um, Steve Novak. Everybody played their role to the best of their ability. But Melo always took the fall no matter what it was. If games he scored 40 and I didn't score enough. I didn't defend enough. I didn't rebound enough. He always took the blame, and it really wasn't his fault because he was having an MVP season, and he wanted to win so much for New York that um, he left it all on the floor every time he stepped on it. So it was a pleasure playing with Melo, one of the best teammates I've had, and you know, respect his game so much.
What he's doing now with that Portland team after that little period of time where he was kind of exiled, and then he comes back and kind of has a resurgence with Portland. Just can can you explain how that looks? Like how that what his mentality probably would be like now. How from being exiled from the league and then having this resurgence. Like how do you think that he's taking that all in right now?
I mean, it was unfortunate that people were trying to say that he was the cancer or he was a problem, and he was washed and he needed to be out the league. And then you see him out there, scoring 20, 25, 30 points, rebounding, and being a huge part of Portland Trailblazers' success. Shows that a lot of people don't know what the heck they're talking about. Excuse me. And so it's just, I'm happy that he's doing well. Happy that he's having the success he's having, and I think he still has a few more years in him. A lot of people hate on his game, hate that he has won a championship, but all he can do is play the game. He doesn't build his team out. He doesn't sign. Um, you know, you can't determine who's going to sign him or not. If he would have played on the Golden State Warriors or played with LeBron, he would have won a championship. Played with the Spurs or the Heat or whatnot. But unfortunately, he didn't team up with those guys and played on the teams that he was built to. And he's been successful at those teams and continued to be successful. And I'm just happy that he's getting a second chance because he was much deserving, and he's going to continue to play well for them.
I think he's one of the most prolific scorers that the game has seen. Like I like his game. He's really good in the mid range still. He's really strong. Like you can just tell. He's gotten a little older now, but still, he can still give you buckets. Still, and I've always liked him coming out of Syracuse. He was one of my favorite players coming into the draft as well. I think that he should have got drafted a little bit higher, but that's a topic for a different day. Um, so just to kind of wrap everything up, like what are you currently doing these days? I know I've seen some videos of you working with the youth and things like that, and you had some basketball camps and stuff like that. So can you talk about what you're doing post career wise?
Oh yeah, I've got my hand in a little bit of everything. I feel like I call myself the businessman. Um, I'm currently a coach and teacher at my alma mater at Fayetteville High School. I coach I'm the head coach of the sophomore team, assistant JV and varsity coach. Teach oral communication. Have business endeavors in a painting company in Florida. I have a trucking company here in Arkansas. Uh, hair store, hair couture here in Fayetteville. I have rental properties here. I'm involved in a lot of nonprofit with mine, the Ronnie Brewer Foundation. We help at-risk kids. That's where you saw the basketball camp. You know, that's been going on for 15 plus years. Last year was the first year that we weren't able to have it. But we plan on resuming it this summer. We do a lot of back to school events, school supply giveaways, blessing baskets during Thanksgiving and Christmas, Christmas present giveaways, coat drives, a lot of different things, scholarships that we provide. And we help provide Thanksgiving dinner. We volunteer at the Salvation Army. We volunteer at the Children's Safety First Center. I've been involved in the Woods Elite basketball program. I'm a 16 and under head coach on the UIBL circuit, and I'm also the recruiting coordinator for all age divisions for the Woods Elite basketball. And I sit on the board at the Startup Junkie Foundation here in Fayetteville. So, I try to stay as busy as I possibly can. I try to keep my hands in as many things as possible to stay active. I also do a radio show every Wednesday on ESPN 99.5 radio. That's here with one of my best friends, Wallace Spearman, former Olympian, Aaron Peters. So just try to stay as busy as possible and do stuff that I enjoy doing.
Do you have like any advice for anybody that's aspiring, as far as like the business side? Like when you're playing basketball and you have the world at your fingertips and things like that, but you know that eventually all this is going to come to an end. And then it seems like you've transitioned well when it comes to businesses and wise, being able to have sustainable income coming in and things like that. So do you have like any advice for anybody that aspiring to play basketball, or even not even just basketball, just as far as like business and just being impactful in that way?
Yeah, two things. One, anything is possible, and don't allow anybody to tell you that you can't do anything. If your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations are so big that people can't believe it, then that's perfect. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And outwork your opponent. Outwork them. If it's anything in life, if it's business, basketball, radio show, being the best, husband, dad, brother, employee, boss, whatever it is, be the best and outwork the next person. That's how I got to where I'm at. Am I the best basketball player? Absolutely not. Is there people more talented than me? For sure. But did I go out there and work my butt off night in, night out? Absolutely. Did I do it off the court? Yes. Did I do it when I was in school? Absolutely. Did I do it to try to get my degree? Absolutely. Did I do it with all my business endeavors? Absolutely. So, anything is possible. Don't let anybody tell you no and you can't do anything, and outwork your opponent no matter what you're trying to do in life.
Some really great advice. I mean, you're actually speaking to me right now. I started this podcasting journey when the pandemic had first hit. I work at a gym, and so I'm used to always moving around and doing something, for work and things like that. And so whenever they, locked us down and we weren't able to go to work and actually do what I normally was doing for the past years, I would always listen to podcasts, on the way to work. I would listen to different sports podcasts and things like that, and just say, man, I could do that. I could, talk about sports because I love sports. I watch it all the time, and I think I can, have a conversation about it. I think people will want to listen to it. And so I started really working at it and, trying to perfect it and things like that. And the first one was really, really bad. It was terrible. And I got discouraged, but for some strange reason, that very first episode, I got a great deal of people commenting and listen to it. and so that's what got me the motivation to keep going and keep starting. Doing more shows and things like that until I got more confident with it. And it's been okay. I want to get to the point where it's all I'm doing. That's my goal. I want to primarily podcast. Right now I do have a job, but I want to have experience that financial freedom where I'm doing something I love to do and not something I have to do.
Yeah, I mean, don't ever be discouraged on. You said your first episode wasn't that great, and it's something that you want to do. Man, continue to work at it, man. If you look at the mindset like this, every CEO, every superstar at anything that they do, if it's football, basketball, track, baseball, hockey, they continue to practice and work at their craft every day. They watch film, they get extra shots, they lift weights, they work on their conditioning, they work on their strength, they work on their stretching, they work on yoga, they work on their nutrition, they get different acupuncture to make sure that they're performing at a high level. If you're a CEO, you're hiring the best hires you can be because you're only as weak as you're only as strong as the weakest link. And so with you, continue to work at your craft because each and every time you get on this podcast, it's going to get better and better and better. And you're going to get positive and you're going to get negative feedback. I prefer negative feedback because it pinpoints on what exactly you can make this podcast better. And if you're always getting positive feedback, oh, this is the greatest show, this is the greatest show, this is the greatest show, that's all you're going to think. If you look at the superstars, even when they say, oh, man, you're averaging 30 points, you're averaging 30 points, they're still going back to the lab to get better because iron sharpens iron. You only get better. Because once you stop working to get better, that's when you stay stagnant. You're always supposed to be going up in the upward motion to get better. And that's my advice to anybody, anything in life.
I think that's something I can draw from. I think that's something that I can, carry on, while I go on this journey. Ronnie, I really appreciate you, stopping by. I was really surprised that you actually responded. I think that was, great of you to, extend that opportunity to me to be able to interview you on this. And, I'm greatly appreciated that you actually responded and, you were able to, do my show.
Hey, man, no problem, man. It's all God's plan, man.
That's Ronnie Brewer. Ronnie, could you let everyone know how they can find you on social media?
It's just Ronnie Brewer Jr. On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Man, I'm on all those social platforms. I answer all those. If you want to follow me, follow me. If you want to send me a message, send me a message. I'm always active promoting my student athletes and promoting, whatever I'm doing. So, give me a shout.
Out of Bounds Nation, that's Ronnie Brewer. Thank you again, Ronnie, and hopefully I can get you on again.
Absolutely, man. Just hit me up anytime. I'd be more than happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you again.
All right, man.
Peace.